Have you ever been betrayed by someone you really trusted? Or have you put your trust in someone and that person proves unworthy? If you're a victim of this kind of transgression, you might think, how could I have been so stupid to trust him? Why didn't I see the warning signs? Who would have thought that someone you trusted would stab you in the back? You know what? With friends like that, who needs enemies? Before we go that far, it's very important to distinguish between two kinds of indiscretions. For the most part, you may be forgiving and not find your trust shaken if someone makes an honest mistake. Nobody's perfect. On the other hand, when improper actions are intentional, a conscious assault on you, your trust is undermined and forgiving takes more effort. It is very rightly said, trust takes a long time to develop, but can be lost in the blink of an eye. Hello friends, Yasmin here from My Education My Power, and today we'll learn the lesson The Address from the book Snapshots, Class 11. We're going to learn a very important lesson how to move on in life without depending on others. Because in your bad time, nobody will stand by you. You will be all alone. So let's move ahead. Let's discuss some interesting fact about the author. Marga Minko is a Dutch journalist and writer. In 1957, she made her debut as a writer with the iconic and devastating story of a young girl who escapes through a back door when her family is arrested and sent to the concentration camp or Holocaust, and ultimately she discovers that she has lost everyone close to her. She was awarded many prestigious prizes. In 2018, Minko won the PC and Hoofs Prize in the year 2019, one of the most important Dutch literary awards. There are three characters in the story: Marga Minko, the narrator; Mrs. S, the narrator's mother; Mrs. Dorling, an old friend of narrator's mother. Before we begin, let's discuss few things about the story. The Address is a story of betrayal. Mrs. Dorling, a friend of narrator's mother, comes into the life of the narrator's family, offers to carry all the family possessions, but later refuses to give them back. Let's find out the entire matter through this story. In the very first paragraph, the narrator gave her introduction to the woman standing at the door and asked if she still knew her. She also said that she was Mrs. S.'s daughter. The woman had opened the door a very little and responded negatively. She didn't wanted her to enter the house. She kept staring at the narrator, though she couldn't recognize her. The narrator thought maybe she had come to the wrong house. She had seen the woman only once a year before. Then suddenly she recognized her mother's green knitted cardigan that the woman was wearing. The wooden buttons had become pale because of the washing. The woman noticed that the narrator was looking at the cardigan. She hid behind the door. Now the narrator understood everything, that she came at the right place. The narrator asked the woman about her mother. The woman asked her back that she had come back from the Holocaust, as the woman was not expecting anyone to come back from the concentration camp. Then the woman told her it is not convenient to talk right now and asked her to come back later. The woman closed the door as she didn't want anyone to get disturbed in the house. The narrator was still standing on the step and saw a curtain moving on the window bay, and someone was staring at her from inside the house. The narrator looked at the number plate again. It said 46. As the narrator walks back to the railway station, she recalls how once on returning home from the university during the first half of the World War II, she had found several of their household items missing. Her mother told her about Mrs. Dorling, who was quite known to her, but the narrator hadn't seen her ever. Suddenly Mrs. Dorling came to visit her, and since then they had been in regular contact. Her mother also told her that whenever she visited her, she took something from the house with her every time, like table silvers, antique plates, and many good and expensive things. Actually, the author's family was under the fear of war. Every second was unpredictable, as they could be forced to move from their house. At a time like this, Mrs. Dorling, an old friend of the author's mother, turned up and offered to help them by keeping most of the precious belongings safely in her house. So in order to save the possessions, the author's mother agreed to send all the possessions with Mrs. Darling. Her mother noticed that narrator wasn't convinced and looked at her critically. After that day, they never talked about the incident again. She reached the station without noticing any details on the way. She passed the familiar things after the war for the first time. She didn't want to upset herself with the familiar sights of the houses and streets that reminded her of all the precious times. Now she was again drowned in the past memory, and remembered that one fine morning her mother introduced Mrs. Darling, the lady with broad back, wearing a brown coat and a shapeless hat. They met first time. The lady picked the suitcase under the coat rack. The narrator asked her mother if she lived far away. The mother told her the address, Marconi Street, number 46. She remembered the address, but she took too long to visit the place. After the freedom, she only felt fear and hesitation when she thought about the things kept at Mrs. Darling's house. Each of those things carried memories of her life before the war. The pain of loss stopped her to visit Mrs. Darling because they were only things to her. Things were getting normal in the narrator's life, but one day she got curious about all the things that were still at that address. She wanted to see them and touch them. After the first hopeless visit, she decided to try one more time. When she reached Mrs. Darling's home, a girl of 15 years opened the door and told her that her mother, Mrs. Darling, was outside. So the narrator decided to wait for her. The narrator followed the girl along the passage. There was a Hanukkah candle holder hung next to a mirror. She was standing in the middle of her mother's belongings, which she wanted to see and touch. She looked at the woolen tablecloth, she rubbed it, and her fingers felt warm. As she followed the lines of the pattern, she remembered a burnt mark that was never repaired. While drowned in the midst of the past memories, the girl of 15 told her that her mother would be back soon and asked if she would like to have a cup of tea. She answered, "Thank you." The narrator looked up. She saw the girl put 2 cups of tea in front of her. She poured tea from the teapot and it had a gold border on the lid. She opened the box and took some spoons out of it. Narrator complimented the girl about the box, as the girl turned to give her a cup and said that it is antique, according to her mother. She pointed around the room and said that there are more antique pieces in the house. Narrator was very much familiar with the things, that she needed no help from anyone to see her mother's belongings. Then she glanced over the tea table, the plates that were hanging on the wall. The narrator found the burnt mark on the tablecloth. The girl looked at her in a question. The narrator told her that one never notices the things which are present at the house. The one only notices when something is missing, or it needs to be repaired, or because the one have lent it. She continued, she told the girl that once her mother asked her if she would help her polish the silver. It was a long time ago and she was bored that day. She had to stay that day maybe as she was ill. She asked her mother what silver she is talking about. Her mother said it was the spoons, knives and forks, but she didn't know that it was silver. The narrator asked the girl if she knew. The girl hesitated and walked to the sideboard and opened the drawer. She said she would see if it was there. The narrator jumped and said she forgot the time as she had to catch the train. The girl asked her to wait for her mother. The narrator replied she must leave now. The girl pulled the drawer open. The narrator said she could find a way out and walk down the passage as she heard the sound of jingling of spoons and forks. When she reached the corner of the road, she looked at the nameplate again. It said Marconi Street and she was standing at 46. The address was correct, but she doesn't want to remember it anymore. She didn't want to go back as the things in there reminded her of memories linked with the familiar life of old times. But they lose their value when you are separated from them, and you see them again in a strange environment. She thought then what she would do in a small rented room where blackout paper hung over the window and no cutlery fitted in the narrow drawer. she finally resolved on forgetting the address as it would be easiest. So my friends, the story clearly brings to light the fact that holding on to the past can be an extremely painful exercise. The author, despite being attached to memories of her past, had the courage to leave them behind in order to make a fresh beginning. The Address by Marga Mingo is indeed an inspiring story which sheds an adequate amount of light on the importance of letting things go. It further reiterates that both past and future are illusions and all we have with us in the present. Hope you all have learned many things from it. So this is all for today, my friends. We'll see each other again. Till then, take a very good care of yourself. Bye for now.